Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to I Care About You, the podcast where we dive deep into the realities of our emotional and mental well-being, our path and purpose, and our relationship to love and resilience. I'm your host, Juliana J, and today we're talking about holiday stress and year-end stress and how to find calm in that storm. I also want to go over some lesser obvious reasons as to why the holidays might bring up added stress and 10 things you can do to find joy and make it through those difficult moments of stress. Aside from spending too much time or money finding and buying gifts, holiday parties take over your calendar, year-end deadlines, lack of sunlight, gloomy weather, cold days, extra sugar intake, and the daily nuances of the month of December can be a challenge in and of itself. But there can also be unforeseen challenges you experience that you might experience every year but have never really thought about too much. This time of year can also bring up a lot of regrets and thoughts about ourselves and how we engage in the world and with our family and friends. Suppose you're visiting your hometown to see family. In that case, it might bring up a lot of childhood disappointment or regrets, even trauma, because you're physically in the space where those things might have happened. And during the rest of the year, it might be easy not to think about those things so much because we're busy with our own lives. We're not in that environment. We're not interacting with the people that might be within that environment. Still, the holidays are so deeply rooted in memories and how things used to be in the old days and such. And it's really easy to find yourself embroiled in beliefs about yourself that aren't positive, or things that happened that didn't go as planned, or things that were embarrassing or traumatic. It can also bring up happy times too. I don't want to say that the holidays in December is all doom and gloom, because it isn't. There's a lot of happy times too. But a lot of us humans, we tend to dwell on the more negative rather than the positive. And I've done a lot of podcasts about that. And you can go back and look at those if you need more information. People can bring up personas you had as a child that bring you back to a place that you spent years distancing yourself from. You can find yourself being referred to by your childhood stereotypes, such as the baby of the family, or the kid who always messed up, or the over-dramatic attention grabber, or maybe it's just a party boy, or the kid who was always too drunk, or for me it was the fat kid. These personas that others think are funny might leave you feeling as though all the work you did to overcome the stereotypes didn't work, because here you are right back in again as the fat girl or whatever your childhood persona was. I've certainly felt that. Everything I did in life to be amazing as a human wasn't recognized. Instead, I was right back to that childhood box that I was put in of all the stereotypes that I was as a child. Now, I want to bring up something really important here, in that we're looking at all this stuff in hindsight, all these memories, things that didn't go well with hindsight. But in the moment, you have to remember that you didn't have that hindsight. You were doing the best you could in that moment with what you have. And to reevaluate it through the lens of hindsight is not necessarily positive or truthful. It only aids in showing you all the times you messed up or whatever might be happening or why you have those stereotypes, when in that moment in your life, you didn't have that hindsight. So keep that in mind as these memories come up. Relatives who bring up old memories about all the things that went wrong in your life can also be a challenge. If you confront them, they may turn it on you, saying they were just reminiscing or it was only a joke. But inside, it's still hurtful. And that can be such a challenge in itself, because how do you navigate that situation? We are going to get into 10 ways you can sort of work with this situation when it happens that might help you. And we're going to do that a little bit later in this podcast. With the longer nights and vacation time, we might find that we have more time to dwell on these thoughts and feelings. And that can be where the hindsight comes in and really sort of amps you up or undoes a lot of work you have done with yourself. And that's really just a rewind. It's not that the work you did didn't matter. It did. You're just falling back into that space, because oftentimes when we find ourselves in those situations like the holidays, where you're at home or you're at a party or you're at a family event or you see old friends, just because of the physical space that you're in can make you feel like you're still there. So there's a lot at play there. So don't worry about that too deeply if you feel like, oh, I did all this work to feel good about myself. And now I'm here and I feel exactly like I did when I was 12. It's not all you. But keep that in mind. There's a lot of emotional, physical thoughts, familiarity, old patterns at play. All this said, it can be hard for us to look forward to the future and find closure with the past months, too. We're also kind of grappling with the end of the year and what we did or didn't do and reflect on things that didn't go right. Maybe we're reflecting on goals we didn't reach that year. All sorts of things like that. And it can also make you feel like you're going back to those old definitions. Well, of course, I didn't meet my goals this year because I'm a loser or whatever. You're kind of using those things to reinforce your negative belief about self rather than concentrating on where you're going or what did go right. What if your family dynamic is one of doom and gloom or negative in general? It might be hard to navigate when you feel like you've worked so hard to overcome that mindset. And again, it's like you're in those familiar patterns, those familiar places. And that can be creating a little bit of conflict for you in your mind about, I thought I was a different person. I really worked hard to be a different person. But yet in this situation, I feel like I need to be this doom and gloom person that I was for the first 18 years I lived in that household. And it's hard not to fall into those old patterns, especially because we want to please people. So today I offer you a few simple and quick ways to help you overcome the negative things that might come up for you during the holidays. So number one, first and foremost, breathe. I know you saw it coming. The breathing exercises are really easy and helpful. They'll help to calm your nervous system and give you a moment to put things in perspective. If you just take the time to breathe, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It actually gives you time to kind of put things in perspective too. So I've talked about this before. There's lots of different breathing techniques, but one very simple one is to just breathe in slowly for the count of 4. Hold your breath at the top for the count of 2, and then breathe out slowly for the count of 6. And do this about 5 to 10 times and just relax. You'll be amazed at how helpful it is. And it's so simple. But take your time with it and do it and just calm down. That simple act of breathing affects your nervous system in kind of a profound way. You're no longer breathing quickly or not at all, but you're breathing as though you're calm and collected, and that calms your nervous system down. Number 2, I talked about this last week. I did a podcast on year-end affirmations, and you might find some good ones there, but simply using affirmations like, I'm a good person, I have control over my life, I am enough just as I am no longer the person I was in high school or as a child, I am positive light, etc. Whatever works for you. You might write some up ahead of time, depending on where you're going, knowing that I'm going to go visit my folks and they always think of me as the baby of the family and this child. And so I'm going to write some affirmations about all the work that I've done to not be in that persona anymore. And I'm going to take it with me in my suitcase and look at them every night, or however you work with affirmations. Number 3, if old grief and sadness comes up, which is one thing I didn't really talk about earlier in the reasons as why, is that grief can really be part of the holidays in a way you didn't expect, just because you're missing loved ones, people that are no longer there, or situations that happened, or things that occurred that didn't. Some people grieve their family home because that's not part of the holiday experience anymore, and all kinds of things like that. So if grief and sadness comes up, acknowledge it, be with it, give yourself time to feel those things, and ask yourself why they're there. What can you do to feel better? Ask yourself that. I grieve the loss of loved ones every year at this time, and I give myself time to cry about it. I end it with thanking them for being in my life and bringing me so much joy. And then I turn to the joy, and it helps me switch gears. I may even do something they would do, or go somewhere we went when we were together, or experience something we used to do at this time. You can miss a loved one and still go to a holiday party and laugh. Give yourself permission to miss the people that are not there, the things that aren't there anymore, whatever it is that you're grieving, but also give yourself permission to find joy and happiness in the holidays. 4, identify your boundaries before you see the person who rubs you wrong. What will you say to protect yourself? Go so far as to role play this. I do this all the time in the mirror or while I'm driving. I imagine myself holding strong to my boundaries and what I will say and do. Role playing is highly effective and helps you not feel so caught off guard. And if you do feel caught off guard, number 5, use the excuse me exit. If something gets too hard or you need a break, just simply say, excuse me, and leave the conversation or the situation. Interrupt the person if needed and say, excuse me. Don't offer an excuse or a reason, just leave. Head to a quiet room or the bathroom or even your car to regroup. Ask yourself, what do I need to rejoin this situation? Maybe it's avoiding that person for the rest of the night, or maybe it's telling that person, I really don't like it when you bring this story up anymore, please don't. Or maybe it's just deciding that you've had enough of the party and it's time to go home. 6, practice self-care, of course. Be good to yourself, allow yourself to make mistakes, say the wrong thing, and affirm that you are doing the best, which is enough. Give yourself pep talks, do things like soak in the tub or take a walk in nature, whatever you need to do to shift or redirect a negative thought pattern that's come into play. Like we talked about earlier, you're in this environment where there's a lot of old patterns and it's very easy to fall into them. And if you find yourself there and you don't want to be there, you might need to figure out how you can shift and redirect back out of that thought pattern. Number 7, be mindful of your thought loops and negative self-talk. If you have a pattern of feeling that you're not measuring up and you're going to go meet with that certain person, know this ahead of time. And when the negative talk inside your brain starts up, see it and redirect it. I actually say to myself, no, I don't think that anymore. When I think things I'm trying to change, when I'm trying to change thought patterns. So what I mean by this is it's kind of like in the role play situation. You know you're going to meet somebody, you know you have certain patterns, and you know the situation or the person might kind of spark your negative self-talk. Know this ahead of time and be on alert. And when it comes up, redirect yourself. No, I don't think like this anymore. Maybe you even need to go to a walk or watch some funny cat videos or do something like that. Whatever it is that you need to do to shift out of that negative pattern so you don't sit in it for the time of December and beyond, and use it as a way to reinforce negative self-talk that you really should be not reinforcing, but more like letting go of. 8, don't own what isn't yours. If someone is an ass, then that's on them. You do not need to own it. It's not for you. It's not you, it's them. That's the situation. And you know it when it's happening. You know if you play a role in something, and you know if you don't. And if somebody is just trying to intimidate you back into a space where they feel comfortable that you are, this can happen a lot when you see old friends. They want you to be in a certain place in life so that they can feel better about themselves. So they're trying to put you somewhere that you don't live anymore. So don't own it if it isn't yours. And piggybacking on that, 9, if you need to say sorry, then say sorry. If an old situation presents itself and you feel you played a role, but there's no closure, then just say you're sorry. No excuse to follow, simply that you're sorry. Follow up with action if possible so that it reinforces that you truly are sorry. Maybe it's a deep conversation with the person. Sometimes a heartfelt, meaningful sorry can heal a lot of things. And sarcasm doesn't belong here in this. Even if that's part of this relationship, that you're sarcastic with one another, if there's something that needs closure and you know you played a role, then just fess up to it and be meaningful and real about how you feel about the situation. It can heal a lot of things. And 10, find the good with gratitude. If you're at your folks' house and it's challenging, you might say things to yourself like, I am grateful to have time to connect with old friends. I'm so thankful for my mom's cherry pie, or whatever those beautiful things are, no matter what. Even if you're in line at the store trying to buy something and it's just horrible and you're super hungry and you want to be done with this and you saw this item on sale a month ago and you didn't buy it, now you're spending more and you're in this really negative loop about it. Take a moment to recognize what you could have gratitude for. I'm happy I have the money to buy this gift. I'm happy this will make this person happy. I'm happy to be out experiencing this, even though it isn't so great at all the times. It's still fun and I'm enjoying myself. So concentrate on the good. Let go of the moments that trigger you. There's a lot of joy in the holidays and try to keep that in mind. Replace the bad memories with the times you loved. If someone brings up a painful memory, you can say, I don't want to think about that right now, but remember when, and then insert the positive memory into that. And that kind of changes the direction of the conversation. And you can think of some of those ahead of time too. Like certain people will always bring up the same situations over and over every time they see you. And you can just do something like, if you know ahead of time that's going to come up, you can just be like, oh yeah, I don't really want to think about that anymore. But do you remember the time? Da 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 da. And that kind of changes the conversation and helps you keep that boundary of, I don't want to talk about this anymore and feel bad about myself, so that they can feel good about themselves. Shift it. If someone is really hurting, take a moment to let them know you care about them and you feel their pain. So throughout all of these things, a lot of times when people bring up bad things or bad memories or try to pigeonhole you into a box they know you don't fit into anymore, or they're grieving themselves, if someone is really hurting, take a moment to let them know you care about them and you feel their pain. I think that's really important, and that's something we can do for one another. So that's sort of off my 10 things you can do, but as the bonus, to really be there for people that are also feeling the same things you are during the holidays is not only affirming to you, but to them. And we should all be there for one another and care for one another and start that revolution of being more mindful, caring group of folks. There are many other ways to combat the holiday blues. And if you have any, please comment. If you're on a platform where you can, comment below and tell us what you do to make it through the holidays and what kind of strategies you use. It will help us get to the year end a little happier, and it'll help you also because it feels good to help other people. So dear lovely friends, I wish for you again a transformational month of December. And remember that you have the power to create the reality this month. What reality do you want? You can fill it with joy and gratitude. And when the negative things come up, just don't give them any energy. Or you can use it as a time to work on your boundaries or other things, or to just a time to be grateful. Whatever it is, you have the power to create that reality. No one else can do that for you, even if they come up and say the most hurtful thing to you. How you receive it is how it shapes your reality. So keep that in mind. And if you found today's episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Again, going on that thing of let's help out one another through our lives. It's always nice to have support. And if you want to dive deeper into self-care and personal growth, don't forget to subscribe to I Care About You so you never miss an episode. Order my book, Reasons to Live. It's on my website, which I will link in the description, for more practice on learning how to navigate dark times if you're really feeling like you're in a space like that. And until next time, remember, you are loved. And your journey matters, and you matter. So take good care of yourself and know that I love you and I support you, and we're all in this together. You're not alone.